In this few slides, we're going to address phonemic awareness and phonics. Hopefully, at this point, you're fairly familiar with the difference between these two terms, but it's really important that we discuss it thoroughly several times so that you really have a good understanding of what phonemic awareness means and what phonics means, because you would definitely need to know those two terms in the future. Children develop separate but related abilities about what we call the alphabetic code or language. The first part of that is phonemic awareness. And of course, that's just the ability to notice and manipulate the sounds of oral language. Now, this is really important to highlight that we're not talking about words that are written down, words that are read in a book. This is all about just the spoken word. And it is definitely about being able to manipulate sounds. It's tricky because you can't really talk about sounds and changing things without thinking about letters and letter names. But for little kids who are just starting to understand language, they don't know letter names yet. And so when we make sounds, they don't think about the letter names like we do. So it is tricky, but phonemic awareness can also just be something as simple as, like, if I hide an alarm clock in the room and I have everybody close their eyes and the alarm goes off and then I tell everyone to point to where in the room the alarm clock is, that is a phonemic awareness skill. Or if I say, I'm going to turn my back and you can't see what I'm doing, and I'm going to drop coins into a cup, and they need to count how many sounds because of how many times they hear me drop the coin into the cup, and then they tell me the answer. That's a phonemic awareness skill. Just the same as if I said to a kid, b-at, replace the b with a k, and what do you get? And they say k-at. And we hear that as bat and cat, but they don't see it that way. They just hear me making these sounds. Okay? So phonemic awareness, manipulating language, manipulating sounds. That's what you should think about. Now, phonics is when we actually are thinking about those letter names. There's a visual representation of sounds by that letter. And then we teach kids that these are the letters, those letters have sounds, and then those sounds are blended together to make words. So at that point, you are talking about the visual because you're talking to them about a direct correlation between a sound and a letter, and that is written down. That's the difference between phonemic awareness and phonics. The third area we focus on is spelling, and that is kind of the opposite. It's the ability to take words and then break them apart or segment them out into their individual chunks or blends or sounds, so that then you can write those letters down to spell words. But the spelling part comes later. Today we're really focusing on the phonemic awareness and the phonics. Here's what you have to understand. Students have to be able to have the skill of phonemic awareness in order to become eventually a reader and a writer. It has to happen. They have to be able to hear sounds, distinguish sounds, manipulate sounds, do things with sounds in general before they will actually be able to do the whole skills of phonics and letter names and letter sounds. Now for kids, so a lot of kids can figure this out naturally, but for some kids, we have to be really explicit in our instruction of phonemic awareness. That's why in the phonics class, we have that book that is actual phonemic awareness lessons. Sometimes kids pick up on phonemic awareness skills through nursery rhymes, singing songs, if they're exposed to any kind of like finger plays. That's where it really starts to develop. But as the teacher, especially if you're a preschool teacher and a kindergarten teacher, you are going to want to be having moments in your day where you are specifically doing lessons related to teaching phonemic awareness skills. So because of this requirement that you have to have that skill set before you can become a reader and a writer, if you have older students that are struggling readers, it is important. These are one of those things where, like, you're knowledgeable about this. You should go back and assess them on their phonemic awareness skills to see if they understand those or not. I have seen instances where older kids are struggling readers. We test their phonemic awareness skills and they are lacking in those skills. So, therefore, our instruction then focuses on teaching phonemic awareness, which helps them make progress in their reading and writing abilities. Those are going to be the kids who did not receive explicit instruction. It never worked out for them, it never made sense to them. The problem with that, of course, is that a lot of those phonemic awareness activities are little kid games, kind of childish kind of things, super simple. And if I'm a fourth, fifth grader, I don't necessarily want to do those things because I'm going to think that's baby stuff. So the trick for a teacher is being able to find ways to help kids do those very simple basic lessons and not resist it just because they're a little bit older. So just something to watch for. There are 5 components of phonemic awareness, and it's important that we talk about each one. So phonemic awareness, just like anything else, is like there are different components to it. Some of these skills are easier than others. So the first one is just the ability to identify sounds and words. So if I said to a kid, again, they do not have anything written in front of them, they would not see this in print, it's just me sitting there talking to them. If I would say, brush, car, doll, and then I would ask them, which one do you hear ol in? They should be able to tell me just by hearing if it was the first, the second, or the third word. Or I could say, which one of those words had the b in it? And they could tell me. A second component is being able to substitute sounds and words. So again, if I said, change the in mat to a b, what do you think is the new word? And they would be able to say bat. Again, they're not really thinking of the printed word. It's just a rhyming skill that they have hopefully developed. So substituting sounds and words. The third one is to categorize sounds. So if I said to a kid, run, rabbit, ring, sun, and then I said, which one of those is different? So it doesn't have anything to do with the meaning of the words. It's just what sounds different. And they should be able to tell me that the one doesn't start with the same sound. Or I could mix it up and say sun, rabbit, ring, run, or in what order. It doesn't matter the order of the words. It's just that they're able to hear which one is different. The third skill is blending sounds. I'm going the wrong way, sorry. Blending sounds to form words. So in this case, I say b-i-g. And then I ask the kid to put those together to make a word. And they can say big. Again, I have not said B-I-G. They're not thinking B-I-G in their brain. They're just hearing me talk to them, b-i-g, and then they put them together. That is easier than the 5th component, which is segmenting the individual sounds. So that's the opposite. I say to them the word, they break it into its pieces. I say go, they say go. I say shout, they say sh-out. All right, so those are the 5 different skills that we focus on teaching when we talk about phonemic awareness. Of course, other than just looking up words and other lessons that you can do and using that resource that we have in our other class, anytime you're focusing on singing songs, doing nursery rhymes, sharing word play books, word games, hand games, and just focusing on word games of any kind, that is going to help strengthen that phonemic awareness ability. And one of my favorite children's singers is Raffi. And so if you look up his song, Willoughby Wallaby Woo, you will quickly understand what I mean by saying that kids can have fun while also practicing their phonemic awareness skills. All right, that's it for this one. We're just really remember the difference between phonemic awareness, manipulating sounds, phonics, written language, letters, and words.